We are going to begin our work on 15-2 with number 1. Number 1 is already in slope-intercept form because y is by itself. So I'm ready to graph. My y-intercept is a number not attached to x, which happens to be a -5. So I start at -5 on the y-axis and I put a dot. My slope is a 5/3. That tells me I'm going to go up and down 5 and left to right 3. Now since it's a positive slope, my line should end up looking like that. Puff, puff, positive. So I go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if I go to the left 3, I have a nice negative line. So I don't want to the left 3. I want to go to the right 3 to make it that positive line that looks like our line that we need to draw. Next thing I look at before I draw my line is my inequality sign. See that little line underneath the alligator symbol? That means that it is a less than or equal to, which means our line is a solid line. If it did not have the little line under the inequality, it would have been a dashed line. So then I determine, where do I shade? Well, it says y is less than. So I travel along my y-axis to where my y-intercept is, and I think, okay, are my less than numbers down here, or are they up here? Well, obviously, -6 is going to be less than a +6, so my less than numbers are all down here. So I shade this area. So let's review our steps for this. Step 1 was to graph the line. Step 2 was determine whether or not it was dashed or solid. Remember, a dashed line are these two symbols. A solid line are these two symbols. Step 3 is to shade. Now keep in mind, these are your steps if you are already in y equals. If you are not already in y equals, you have to solve for y first. Those are our last 3 examples. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is y is greater than 1. Okay, does it say anything about x? No. So my y-intercept is at 1, and it's called a zero slope line because it simply goes across like this. Y is greater than or equal to, which made my line a solid line. And then I need to determine my shading. Are these the greater than numbers, or are these? You were correct. It is the top. And then you move on. And then I skipped ahead to number 4 because number 2 or number 3, 5, and 6 look identical to number 1. So let's look at number 4 real quick. Number 4 says x is greater than or equal to 2. Solid line at the 2 on the x. And since it's greater than, it'd be this side that's shaded. That is all on the front. Please finish the other 3. Number 3 is not in y equal form. It is in what's called standard form because x and y are located on the same side. So your step number 1 will be to solve for y. Here's how you do it. Circle y. Draw a line at the inequality. So when I come over here, I'm going to circle my y, draw my line at my inequality. Next thing, subtract the x term. Will you always subtract? Yeah, you always will because standard form says the x term is positive. So I'm going to minus x, I'm going to minus x. When I do that, I have y by itself less than -1 minus x. If y has a coefficient, you would then divide by the number in front of y. My number in front of y right now is a +1, which is the number I want it to be. So I'm going to rewrite my equation right here, and I'm going to erase this so that we can graph. I would refer back to number 1 if I needed help with this. Otherwise, I would start with my y-intercept of a -1 and put a dot. My slope is a -x. Well, I know for a fact that there is a -1 in between that negative and that x, and 1 written as a fraction is 1 over 1, which tells me I'm going to go up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to the left 1, because I want my line to look like this. Is my line looking like that? Yes, it is. Next thing I look at, what kind of line am I drawing? Well, because there is no or equal to little symbol underneath my alligator, it's a dashed line. So I'm going to go like this and put arrows at the end. Now that I have that, it's time to determine my shading. Do I shade up here or do I shade down here? It reads y is less than. So if I go to my y-intercept, my less than numbers are always going to be below. So I shade below. And I'm done. I do the same thing here. I circle my y, draw my line, and I have to subtract my 5x. If you're curious about your steps, please refer to the last problem. So I have y is less than or equal to -4 minus 5x. Is y by itself? It sure is. Does it have a coefficient of a +1? Yes, it does. So I'm going to rewrite my equation up here so I have room to graph. And then I'm going to erase. Okay. So when I go to graph, start with the y-intercept of a -4. My slope is a -5. I know that -5 written as a fraction is -5 over 1. I can't go down 5 because remember I start counting from here and my top number is my up and down. So I can't go down 5, so I have to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since it's negative, I go -1. And then I connect. How is it connected, you ask? It is connected with a solid line because of that little guy right there. Like that. Now let's determine our shadings. Again, go to the y-intercept and read. It says y is less than or equal to. So where are my less than numbers? Are they below my line or above my line? They are below my line. So everything below to the line and over gets shaded like this. Last one. This one has a number in front of the y, which means we will have to, I'm going to rewrite it that way I don't have to erase it for you. We begin by circling, drawing our line, subtracting our 2x from both sides. FYI, these will never combine. Please don't try to make them. So I have 5y is greater than 20 minus 2x. Go right back, circle what I'm solving for. How do I get rid of that 5? Well, steps on the first one says we divide. So y is greater than 20 divided by 5 is 4. 2 divided by 5 is a -2 divided by 5 attached to x. Which means I start at the 4, put my line. My slope is a -2 over 5. So if I go up 2, I go -5. If I go down 2, I go +5. Now what kind of line is this going to be? It's going to be a dashed one. So I try to make them connect the best I can and draw my arrows on the end. And then I read y is greater than. So are my greater than numbers up here or down below? They're up top. So that's the part that gets shaded. You have the remainder of the period to finish this worksheet. Please do so quietly. Thank you.